I walked over to that little boy just to basically inquire or say hello. And you know, when you look into someone's eyes, then you can see, well, it tells you a lot about someone's health, I suppose, when you look into the eyes. When I looked into this little boy's eyes, I just saw emptiness. There was soullessness almost, like there was nothing there. His light in life was to look after his goat, and I guess he saw all the other children, or a lot of the other children, walking to school, getting educated. He wasn't one of those children that got that opportunity. His lot in life was to look after this goat. And I looked, like I said, when I looked into his eyes, it's just, there's an image that still sits with me right now, and it's an image that keeps me going, I suppose, and is that this boy who had no hope.
Welcome to the Debt to Financial Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Victor Lagos. I'm also the founder and CEO of Lagos Financial, a residential and commercial finance brokerage, where our mission is to help good people become wealthy, to help wealthy people do more good in the world. So today is a special episode because Grant Chugg, who is my guest, is exactly that. He's someone that is doing good in the world, that has actually created personal wealth for himself over the years. And we're not here to talk about his personal wealth, but we are here to talk about the good that he's doing in the world. So I'll just do a quick intro. So Grant Chugg, he's a managing director of Grant Chugg Plumbing in Launceston, and he's a passionate humanitarian. He's dedicated over 31 years to the plumbing industry, where he built his business from the ground up after starting as an apprentice. Grant serves as the Vice Chair on the Master Plumbers Association Board and has built a diversified business operations that include Grant Chugg Plumbing, specializing in different divisions for gas, bathroom renovations, and solar solutions. He's also the founder of the Smart Living Centre in Invermay, which specializes in sustainable home solutions, including solar power, heating, cooking, and skylights. In 2017, Grant's life took a meaningful turn when he joined an exposure trip to Burundi in Africa with Villagers of Life. This experience helped him discover his deeper purpose beyond business success. Today we're going to hear about Grant's humanitarian work and his current efforts to provide immediate aid to 50,000 displaced people from the Congo in Burundi at the moment. So he lives in Tasmania with Cherie, his wife of 31 years, and is a proud father of 3 adult children and a grandfather to 1. Welcome, Grant.
Thank you, Victor.
How's that intro?
Sounds very, very impressive. Sounds a little bit like me, so you've done your research.
Yeah. So, look, a bit of background. So Grant and I have known each other now, probably coming up to a couple of years now.
A couple of years, yeah.
Yeah, we're in the same networking group. And I've always kind of looked up to you because, you know, I've known that you're kind of one of the seniors in the group, and and you're a seasoned business owner, and everyone knows you.
Yeah, I guess being in the same town for 30 odd years, people get to know and trust the brand, I suppose, and you are the longevity, I suppose, in this area and expertise that people look to, especially in the plumbing side of things.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you've always been sort of passionate about plumbing. What drew you to that in the first place?
Oh, it was actually working at a friend's house, and this was probably when I was only 14, and they were building a new house, and the plumber having to be there with my mate, and the plumber on site just asked me whether he wanted to give him a hand, and probably want some cheap labour for the day, and actually enjoyed it. And I guess from there, I never wavered from it. Like all through school, people were searching out careers as to what they wanted to do. For me, I knew what I wanted to do. So as soon as I left school, got an apprenticeship, did that for 4 years, did another 4 years with that company, and then I guess somebody pat you on the back and just say, look, you're pretty good at this, why don't you go out on your own and give it a go? So yeah, 31 years ago, that's what we did, and still this day, still enjoy the industry, giving back in that area. Like you said in the intro, the Master Plumbers Association is a way of serving the industry and setting some of the standards that we we enjoy today. But I don't know. It's nice to have a goal and just stick to it, and nothing gets in the way of it, and nothing has drawn me away from that plumbing industry. I still enjoy it to today.
Yeah, and I guess being, there's a difference between being the technician, which is the actual plumber doing the work, and being the business owner and managing people and growing teams and expanding. Have you found that to be more of the
Yeah,
interesting part of the plumbing game?
absolutely. I mean, I've always had an interest in people. I guess if you want to try and build a team, you can't do that unless you have an interest in your staff and your team and building into them. Obviously, I have a very interest in the clients as well, and making sure that the client has a great journey from their engagement with us. But to be honest, this is probably one of my other passions, is that I actually do enjoy engaging with other business owners, especially in the trades area, because again, as a tradie, you're good with your hands, and the paperwork, the bookwork, the accountability side of things is something that you aren't good at, and it's a very important part of business. If you don't have your books in order and managing your finances, then your business won't be very successful. And a lot of people, again, especially tradies who go out there and work on the tools, don't pay much attention to that side of it. And that was certainly my case. There was plenty of times where I just had no clue about the finances in the business and didn't care, to be
Yeah.
honest. I was more happy with the operations, just quoting a job, winning a job and making the client happy. And if the money wasn't there, I wasn't too concerned, which might sound strange being in business for that long. But to be honest, it's probably only been the last 5 years where I've really got some business coaching that's helped me in that area. And from there, it's really transformed my business, and also the way that I look at business, and how the numbers do tell a story. And if the numbers, you look at the trends, you look at where it's happening and where the things are dipping, how you can head that off rather than just being totally reactionary. You can now be proactive, and you can pull the levers in different parts of your business to combat those. So
Yeah.
it's really important to understand that. But I think I have got my next journey, I suppose, will be probably to be helping tradies to understand the importance of all of the things that you need to do to run a successful business.
Yeah. No, I love that, because the reason I started this podcast is to educate people,
Yeah.
because that's what we need. We need more education at school. They don't teach you the fundamentals of money, of debt, of saving, of investing, of business, really people skills, management, all the things you actually need in life. They don't teach you that.
No, absolutely. Like, I went to plumbing school and learned plumbing, and then I started a business, but had no business training, and no one taught me that. So it's just one of those things where you think you can just go and do, but it's like another degree in a way, learning business. And
Yeah.
yeah, and unfortunately in our trade sector, then we don't get taught any of that. We just get taught the practical, the what it takes to do the plumbing side of it, but not the business. But all these people decide to go into business, and I was one of those who had no clue, and fumbled your way through it for many years. And like I said, only until recently that I actually got a handle on what it is to know the numbers of the business. And when you do, then that's where it gets exciting. That's
Mm.
running a business, and like I said, pulling those levers to make that change. That just gives you a whole sense of choice and freedom and control that you now have. That it's always been there, but if you're not aware of it, then you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you use the word lever, and that's where the word leverage comes from, right?
Yeah,
Lever, leverage. And to be able to pull those levers at will, essentially, and know what the cause and effect relationship is, right? Whether it's doing more marketing, whether it's, bringing in, hiring a sales manager, or all these things that actually, free up more time, but actually grow the business significantly, right?
yeah, no, absolutely. If you can master your time, your finances, sales and marketing, operations, and your team, they're the five pillars that we focus on. If you can master those five, they all interact with each other, of course, but if you can know what each one of those barometers are telling you, then you can, again, like I said, pull a lever to, if you need more sales, then you can pull that lever in the marketing side of things. And if you need more team or less team, then your finances will tell you whether that's possible or not. So it's all interconnected. But if you know what each one's telling you, then you can be in control of that. And I guess when you say levers, that it is leverage. I sort of refer levers to like an excavator. You're sitting in the seat. You got a couple of levers in front of you. If you pull a lever, then it will move something, or if you push a lever, it will move something. So, but if you don't touch it, then it won't do anything. So you have to pull it or push it, whatever you want it to do. But you choose. If you've got the information, you can say, I can actively do that, and that will affect that. But if you're not aware of that, then you just sit there and let it all happen around you, but you're not actually not making that change.
No, that's a great analogy, because I think a lot of people in business who are good at their craft, they end up just spinning the wheels every day, right? Do the same thing over and over,
Yeah.
and then expecting a different result.
Yeah, there's a definition for that.
Insanity, right? But I think the coaching side is really important, right? So as much as you have, you've mentioned that you want to mentor other tradies, but you've also been coached. So to me, that looks like the natural thing about the nature of the universe, right? It's giving and it's receiving. So you've received, and now you're at a place where you want to give.
Yeah. Even like you started from the start, that you looked up to me, whether that, I'm not sure exactly why, but maybe sometimes it can be just age. Age will give you a certain degree of respect or notoriety. I mean, if you're a teenager, then not so much so. But just age is something that respect comes your way.
Yeah.
And if you stick to something for a long period of time, then people also look at that and say, okay, there's predictability, there's durability, that you've actually stuck it out and you've worked through that. So, but again, it gives you a platform to speak of if people are looking to you. And when I say that, if you are a teenager, yeah, people are still looking to you. There's still people that are younger than you, still looking up to you. So you don't want to forget that either. But essentially, as we get older, then older you get, then the more knowledge, wisdom that you've probably collected along the way. And if you're a younger person, they're the people that you need to be around to gain understanding. And it's always the cheapest lessons is to learn it off someone else rather than learning the lessons yourself. So if you can step over that pitfall rather than stepping into it because someone has told you to step, then through their stepping into plenty of those pit holes, then you're going to be a lot more successful and not have the hurt and the financial stress of some of the holes that you can sometimes step into.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And it's true, if someone has, learned the lessons through trial and error, and they're willing to share those lessons with you without any real agenda of wanting something back. Of course, time is money for everyone, and I think there's a thing around, it's got to be mutually beneficial. But I think as humans, we get a positive feeling when we can make a positive impact in someone else's life.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is enough a lot of the time.
Absolutely, it is. It's again, that comes with a bit of age too, I think. And sometimes when you're younger, the striving and the wanting to use somebody potentially as a leg up to get further up the ladder or whatever. When you get a bit older, none of that really matters anymore. Like you actually become secure in your own self and what your achievements maybe, or where you are as a person, that I don't need to be dependent or reliant on what other people think of me. You actually have proven to yourself and others that I am who I am.
Yeah.
And the insecurity then disappears. And I think the insecurity comes from not wanting sharing information because you don't want someone else to get a leg up on you or gain that information. But when you get a little bit older, I think you think, well, no, if I can help a younger person starting out in business or life or journey or whatever they're wanting to know, then it's, why wouldn't you want to hold that information back? And obviously some people still might want to, but for me, if you can pass that on, then and you can see somebody else be propelled, and you're connected or part of that, then that's almost another part of giving back that makes you feel good that you've helped somebody.
And I think, me looking up to you was a combination of knowing, like what you said, you've been in business for a long time, You've got a lot of respect within the community. Um, and I think there's a certain calm demeanor that you have about you that, um, you know, you're not sort of stressed out. And a lot of people in business who have been in business for a long time are tired. They've lost that spark. And I feel like your spark is not only is your spark not out, but it's ignited in other directions. And I guess that's where I wanted to ask you about is like, how did, like 2017, you get invited to go, to Africa by an organization called Villages of Life. Firstly, what made you want to go along in the first place? What was going through in your mind at that time? And secondly, what did that do for you when you went on that trip?
Yeah, when you talk about life and spark and what have you, 2017 was, I guess, a time in my life where I'd been doing business for 20 odd years and I was getting a bit bored with it. When I say a bit bored with it, I was a bit bored of just doing the same rinse and repeat. Again, I didn't have the knowledge of finances and understanding of running a business back then. It was really just quoting a job, making the operations work and collecting the money at the end of it. And it was rinse and repeat. And whilst I enjoyed it, it was just becoming a little bit tired. And I thought, there's got to be more to it than this. I mean, what is it that business is supposed to be about? And for me, I didn't know. 2016, I made a New Year's resolution, New Year's Eve, and I'm not big on New Year's resolutions. I don't think I've made one since. But the New Year's resolution was to say yes to some things. I think in life, again, things were passing me by. There's some things that you can't do anymore. Those things have gone. But rather than saying one day I'll get around to it, one day I'll do that, I was going to be a bit more intentional about doing things and saying yes. It was the very next morning. A good friend of mine, Ted, came up to me and said, I'm going to Africa, a place called Burundi. Do you want to come? And without even knowing, thinking, I just said yes. And it wasn't until I got home that I did some research on this place called Burundi, which I'd never even heard of before. And even Africa, I had no desire to go to Africa. But I just said yes to something that I had no clue what I was saying yes to. So I guess I did that, and I'm glad that I did. I think I was just being prepared for that time to say yes, and then stepped into a journey that's truly changed the way I see life and business as well. So went on a journey with no agenda other than just to go and have a look. Join the team with Ted. There were 17 other of us that went. As it turned out, they had bought some land and they wanted me to do some irrigation on that land. So I guess I had a purpose for going or reason for going, but that's not why I said yes to it. That came afterwards. I said yes for no other reason than just to go. But yeah, went there and did our first irrigation scheme in Burundi. It was nothing very elaborate. It wasn't like all these centre pivot type irrigation schemes. It was just a fire pump with some heavy dropless sprinklers on some star thickets. But to see grown men run underneath sprinklers, which they'd never seen before in their life, was something I won't forget. But I guess that was the start of, especially in Burundi, a little bit of context with Burundi. Burundi's sits below Rwanda. It's a very small country. It's only about half the size of Tasmania. It has the population of Australia, so it's very heavily densely populated. It's the most heavily densely populated country in Africa, and it's the second poorest country in the world. So the poverty and need is quite high. But just to paint you a bit of a picture, Burundi is a tropical oasis. There's water everywhere. There's ground that can grow, and you think there's sunshine all the time. So there's nothing missing as far as growing food and crops. Yet there's people starving everywhere, and you think, how's this even possible? And so again, as a business owner, I guess you look at opportunities and potential everywhere, and there was opportunities, potential everywhere in that country, and that's what drew me to it. And I suppose even doing that first irrigation scheme, it's like going back. They haven't even gone through the Industrial Revolution yet. Like everything is done manually. There's all manual labour for everything. If we want to dig out foundations for a school, then 100 people will turn up with their picks and hoes and start digging. And if you want to go quicker, then you just get another 50 or 100 people and you dig it quicker. You know what I mean? So even machinery like excavators, or there's just very few of those in the country. And so yeah, and it's all manual labour. It's there's no machines mixing concrete. There's no concrete plants. There's just people would cart rocks on their heads. People will cart water up from the stream, and they'll start mixing concrete on the site. It's just it's quite unusual to step back in time in a way when you go to some of these countries. So, but yeah, it's certainly sparked my desire that here I am. I've got opportunity to create wealth with my business. How can I help? How can I do something? And I guess for us then, yeah, being part of Villages of Life is where that journey started.
So, Villages of Life, we talked about education. Their focus is actually to uplift children so that they have a proper education and they can get themselves out of poverty.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I guess when Villages Life started, it started with an orphanage. From there, they built a school, and then in order to sustain the orphanage, they purchased farmland, and that's where I came in with the irrigation side of things. But whilst orphanages are great and needed, whilst farming projects are great and needed, education is what we deem to be the most important aspect of growing a country and pulling that country out of the hole that they're in is through education. Again, and our part in that is that we raise funds and awareness to build schools. So we're not part of the running of the schools. We're purely there as a hand up for the construction of these schools.
Yeah.
And then from there they can run these schools. So the schools are a private school, so there are fee-paying students that go to the school. That's where the sustainability comes into it. But essentially, Villages of Life gives them the hand up they need that they don't have as far as building infrastructure. Our partnership then is at that point we step away from that, and then they step into running the schools, and that's their part in this. And it is a partnership. It's a very key word is that word partnership. We're not very, very careful not to be seen to be donors. If you're a donor, then it's almost like you continue to put down somebody. Like, here's my donation. It's like a wealthy person actually saying to a poor person, here's my money. That's not what we're about. Even though we are bringing money to the table, but we're very much we're partnering with you. Obviously, if we build the school and there's no partnership to run the school, I go back every year, not to check in on them, but it's basically to celebrate that the school's still running and there's still children being educated. And that's through that partnership that's happening. And a few years back, we just understood the full meaning of that partnership, because for many years they've just been treated in this African communities that we work in, they've been treated as donors. And it's just like, it's another level of oppression, and they've lived their whole life being oppressed by one country or another, one organisation than another. So to someone to come along and say we actually want to basically put arm in arm and partner with each other, it empowers them. They've got their part to play. And even with our schools, they come with a business plan where we don't build a full school. I guess the areas that we work with, our name, as it suggests, is Villages of Life. So we tend to work in the villages. We don't normally work in the cities. So we go out to the outlying areas where the poverty is probably at its highest, and we partner with in-country organisations. But there's no point putting a full school there because there's no one educated past grade 3 anyway. So we build the school up to grade 3. So we include pre-prep, prep, and kinder, and then enough classrooms so that gets them to grade 3, so they can then grow into the school. But it is up to them to put some of the tuition money aside into our building fund, so that when the kids progress through and they need another classroom, then they've got enough money to build their own classroom, and they keep building their own school. So it enables us to build more schools, but also enables them to grow into their own school, and that's their responsibility, and that's our partnership that goes with the business plan as to how they build their own school. But they just need that initial hand up, which is what we provide.
Yeah, no, that's really good to hear it from that perspective because sometimes, yeah, people don't want to create a dependency, right? That hand up versus hand out, right?
Yeah.
And handouts don't help anyone, right?
No, sometimes handouts are needed, but the hand up is what we're about. You know, I mean, it's like that whole scenario where you can catch a fish and give someone a fish, or you can teach them to fish. This is basically we're providing the infrastructure so that you can fish. You've got everything that you need that you can then teach the children, and then those children will become educated. They will get good jobs. It will break that circle of poverty and brings hope. Um, I was in northern Rwanda with a couple of other board members looking at a school site. This was back in 2021, I think it might have been. And we were just walking across the land. We had the plans there and mapping out where we're going to build this school. And I walked over to the fence because this little boy was sitting there, and he had a goat. He was looking after with a bit of string around the goat's leg, and that was his job for the day, probably for the year, to be honest. I walked over to that little boy just to basically inquire or say hello. And you know, when you look into someone's eyes, then you can see, well, it tells you a lot about someone's health, I suppose, when you look into the eyes. When I looked into this little boy's eyes, I just saw emptiness. There was soullessness almost, like there was nothing there. His lot in life was to look after this goat, and I guess he saw all the other children, or a lot of the other children, walking to school, getting educated. He wasn't one of those children that got that opportunity. His lot in life was to look after this goat. And I looked, like I said, when I looked into his eyes, it's just, there's an image that still sits with me right now, and it's an image that keeps me going, I suppose. And is that this boy who had no hope. And it's one of the saddest images you can see, is a child who's 4 years old, say, with no hope. And so the next year we went back. That particular school was coming up out of the ground, and all the kids were sitting around the construction fence. And we went over to the kids again, and all the kids were very, very different. The kids, we were asking, what do you want to do when you grow up? So the narrative was, when I grow up, I want to be. And it went from last year from hopelessness, despair, to when I grow up, I want to be. And then the following year, when we went back and the school was opened, so that particular school opened last year in September in northern Rwanda. There was 85 kids in that school now who have just started, and they're on their journey of realising that dream of, when I grow up, we want to be. So again, in a nutshell, that's what education brings. It takes you from a place of hopelessness, like this little kid. I mean, I'm not sure if you've been to Rwanda or not, but Rwanda is just, it's named for country of 1,000 hills. There's no flat land in Rwanda. It's just hills everywhere. This little boy wouldn't have known what was on the other side of the hill. There's no worldview. There's no, I wonder they border Uganda, like it's only 30 kilometres away. He wouldn't know that. You know, I mean, there's so much education that if you don't have it, there's no, I mean, opportunity to dream, opportunity to see what's out there. Well, that's not given to them, because my little world is looking after a goat on the end of that bit of rope, and that's what I've got to look after. You know what I mean? And when I grow up, I might get to hoe a paddock, or I might get to look after 2 goats or more goats. You know what I mean? That's their lot in life. And I've had the privilege, I suppose, to travel quite a few countries, and that story is repeated in many countries where they just do what their mum or their parents show them to do, which is normally farming or labouring type work. So that's their lot in life, with no understanding what's on the other side of that hill. And that's when you bring education, then obviously education will teach you a whole lot more than what's on the other side of the hill. It will give you that opportunity to dream and to be something that you never had the opportunity to do before.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I never really thought, like when you said that about looking in a kid's eyes and literally have no hope. It's like we don't actually know what it's like to not have hope, because when we're born in a Western world,
Yeah.
we're always hoping for something, right? Even if it's for for some snacks that your parents bring home to you, right? I hope she brought something nice. Or
Yeah.
I hope I get a good present at Christmas or
Mm.
my birthday. There's always some hope for something because you know that life is full of good surprises. But if you're in Burundi or Rwanda or countries like this, and you don't have anything ever, like
No.
you just
This is why I go back every year, is just to get another fresh hit of perspective. And that's what it brings to you. We quite often say, like, I didn't get a choice, you didn't get a choice where you were born, and they didn't get a choice where they're born. But with where we're born, we've been given certain privileges, certain opportunities in life. The question that we need to answer ourselves, everyone needs to answer, is what are we going to do with those opportunities? How do we make the most of those opportunities? But if you don't have perspective, then your perspective is just around you. Again, we are educated people, but we're only educated in our own
it's true.
lane, I suppose. If you take yourself out of that and you see another person's perspective, then you realise, okay, I've been given an opportunity in life to affect change. Like we talked about, we can pull a lever, and we can change some things. So, and that's where, when you have perspective, then, and for me, I need to keep it fresh because it does get dim and gets dim. But going back makes it very much alive again, and you come back, you're energized, you're ready to take on the world again, so to speak, and do what you can in your community to affect another community or another village.
Yeah. It brings me back to, if I think about my own life, probably one of the reasons why I've kind of, not that I've always wanted to do good. I think I just had that in me, that I kind of like was in this journey of where can I eventually do some good in this world, and probably came from the fact that when I was 8 years old, I went to the Philippines
Yeah.
because that's where my mum's from, and I went with my grandma, and I used to see, like, the Philippines is still, some parts are much better now, but back then there were like poor kids all over the street begging. It still is now, but I mean, where I was staying, like, they were literally outside the house, right? And they would be pooing in the canals, and it was just really smelly, and then we went to like province, which is kind of like villages part, and I remember I had to, when we showered, we didn't have a shower. We actually had a bath with all the other kids in a big barrel, which was well water. And it was cold, obviously. You just have to take the water as it is. And yeah, I don't know. I think that probably stuck with me now that I think about it. And I guess unless you have that perspective, I think this is why this podcast is really important, because there's probably a lot of listeners out there, wherever you are, that you may not have experienced anything like that, or you may not have seen it. And hearing Grant share this story, hopefully will open your eyes a little bit to look a bit further and explore that, because the world is very divided in that there's a select few that own and control most of the wealth in the world. I did some research into this, and I have mentioned it to others in the past, but it's quite crazy to think about it. We're talking about multi-trillions of dollars in the hands of about 7,000 individuals that own and control more of that than the remaining 8 billion and whatnot combined.
Wow. Yeah.
And these countries in Africa have, I'm sure a lot of it has got to do with past dictatorships and whatnot, but a lot of it's got to do with debt enslavement. These nations have got a lot of debt that they can never repay, which is a significant portion of their GDP, and it comes from this system of debt. And my podcast is called Debt to Financial Freedom, and I guess the reason I bring that up is because there's something that's happened recently, which you can share, I'm sure. Grant, we had a conversation like not even 2 weeks ago. Oh, it was about 2 weeks ago, that Congo, like 50,000 people are now displaced from Congo. And if you want to
Yeah.
add to that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I was only made aware of it about a month ago. The location of our first school in Burundi, a village or a province called Chipatoki. Like I indicated before, Burundi is the second poorest country in the world, to give you that in perspective. But Chipatoki is a province in Burundi, which is one of the poorest provinces in Burundi. So you've got the second poorest country in the world, and you're working in a province that's probably one of the poorest provinces in that poor country. So, and then they've had an influx of an estimated 50,000 people. It may well be a lot more than that now, but a couple of weeks ago, it was 50,000 people had fled the Congo across their border, which is a river, across the river, and now are occupying that area. So there already was a lot of need to have an additional 50,000 people all needing shelter, healthcare, and food is a major impact on that area. So, I guess that's an area that we're going back in June with a team of 7 of us. We'll visit the countries that we're working in. Burundi is certainly one of those countries we endeavour to go back to. And the in-country organisation that we partner with has said, I'm glad you're coming, but there's a real need here right at our doorsteps right now with all these people that are needing immediate help, immediate assistance. So, and that's what I mentioned to you about this, that what can we do to help? How do we get involved with this? So I've been in contact with a guy called Jackson who runs one of our projects over there. He wants to feed 1,000 families. So when I say feed 1,000 families, he wants us to fundraise here the money to do that. There's enough food in the country that he can source, or even outside the country, but essentially, a package consists of 15 kilos of maize or maize meal. It consists of 10 kilos of beans. And then he wants to, which I thought was interesting, he wants to provide them with a 20-litre water container as well, so that they're able to cart water for themselves. But I guess the food is a handout. The food will only last a period of time. Just to give you a bit of perspective on that as well, though, that food package costs, including the water container, costs $25 Australian.
Wow.
So I guess, we want to do 1,000 of those, but that's 1,000 packages, which represents 5, 6, 7, 8 people in the home. You know what I mean? So there's probably 5,000 to 8,000 people that will impact for at least 2 weeks with that amount of food. So it is a reasonable amount of impact and reach that we're going to be having. But the water container is an ongoing thing. It's not eaten. Once it's eaten, it's gone. This is not the case. With the water container, they can continue to bring water to themselves as a family, but it's an opportunity for them too, where they can potentially go to a creek and cart water for another family. Or if there's a construction going on, they can cart water for the construction site and earn money with that water container. So it's an opportunity for them to get a hand out, but also a hand up, which again, all in the same package, but we're able to do that. So, but essentially, $25 will feed a family of, let's say, 6 to 8 people for a couple of weeks, and also provide them with an opportunity to generate some income as well. So, I guess when you work in these poor countries, and their inflation is horrific, but our dollar does go a long way, and we can buy a lot of food in these instances. So we can make a large impact. I guess that's what we're trying to do. I mean, it is a handout. It will make a difference for 2 weeks. Obviously, the need is still ongoing, but we're just one of many organisations that can affect change and can do something in this area. So that's what we plan to do. When we go over there in June, depending on how much money we raise, then we'll send some money over, hopefully before we go there, so that can have immediate impact. And then when we arrive, then we'll be able to hand out these food parcels, and I guess we'll have a hand in making those parcels available, but then I guess we get to have the joy in handing them out to these individuals and these families.
Wow. I know you shared this with me before our podcast, and it just happened to be good timing because I wanted to get you on anyway, because I registered for the podcastathon so that multiple podcasters around the world are able to promote their chosen charity, and I chose to get you on because of Villages of Life, and it just so happened that in this moment that's going on. So I thought, now we need to be talking about this and just getting the word out, because you don't even hear this on mainstream media. If like think about Tasmania, the size of Tasmania and the size of Burundi. You said that Tassie is a little bit bigger or smaller?
Yeah, twice. Tasmania's twice as big as Burundi,
Twice
and
as big. I
yeah,
mean, our entire state has about 600,000 people.
mm,
If we had 50,000 come in one hit, that would cause a lot of chaos, right?
yes, mm,
It's already hard enough to get housing as it is. So, these guys, like, I did a quick search before this episode, before we started recording, and the majority of the displaced people are actually women and children.
mm.
And I guess they're living in shelters, and they literally don't have food right now. Crazy.
No, I guess the other side of things is that, again, when we talk 50,000, they are people, they are children, and they've quite often have left fleeing for their lives. Again, not knowing whether other family members have been able to escape or whether they've been caught up in the turmoil that's going on there. They're quite often the place where they live has been burnt to the ground,
Yeah.
and again, they're left running for their life with what they can. So whilst there's immediate needs with their food and their health, shelter, there's a whole lot of other needs that's needs to be met as well.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, just the whole uncertainty of being uprooted from your family, your home, your surroundings, fleeing for your life, having to cross a river that has got crocodiles and hippos in it. You, yeah, and then landing in another country where they don't want you either because they're struggling to survive themselves, and then
Mm.
having an additional 50,000. When I say 50,000, it could be a whole lot
Could be
more
more,
a lot
yeah.
more than that. It's trying to guess the population in a country in those sort of areas where there's such high density is difficult anyway. But yeah, there's a lot of need, immediate need that's required in that area.
So one of the things I asked you before the episode was, how do we make sure that if someone wants to donate like $25 to feed 8 people for 2 weeks, women and children who are displaced, who've lost their homes, like, what's $25? Like, a meal at Macca's costs $25 these days, right?
Yeah, again, that's exactly right,
Yeah.
Victor. That's perspective, isn't it? Like, it's just saying, what can I do? How can I help? And that's and it's not a lot. And some people, yeah, $25 is all that they can potentially afford, but there's a lot of people that can afford
A lot more.
a lot more. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Eh,
And like you indicated before, with the amount of wealth that sits with 7,000 individuals or companies, there is enough money to go around. It just needs to be spread around.
Exactly.
And again, whilst I think again, the whole thing perspective, like we sit in this nice office and we sit in this nice country and we have lots of things that we get to enjoy, and you might think, oh, I'm not that mega wealthy. Like, I don't have my yacht or my island or my or my
Three
garage.
cars.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have all that, and we put ourselves as not being wealthy. But like I said, when we work in Burundi and we pay labourers to come and dig footings for a foundation for a school, we pay $3 a day, and that's above the going rate. That's for the good ones. That's the ones who want to work, and we pay $2 a day for the lazy ones, if you want to put it that way. I'm not sure, but when I looked at my wages bill, then we pay a whole lot more than $3 a day for our labour. But again, it's perspective. We have an opportunity to do something, and that's what this is. Whether it is $25 for a package, or whether you think, no, I can do 2 packages, or I can do 100 packages, whatever it might be, then I guess I want everyone to hear that everything makes a difference.
Yeah.
And whether it is a small amount or it's a large amount, it's not about judgment about, oh, you gave this much or you gave that much. It's really, thank you for what you've been able to give, and that will make a difference. And I guess I'm here to say to you today that I will personally make sure that difference is handed out, and I'll be able to show you, and you'll be able to see that difference. It's one of those things where, I mean, it happens all the time. Like, people are asking for money all the time, and people come a little bit blasé with it, or, yeah, okay, I'll give you the X amount of dollars. And there's a degree of skepticism saying, oh, that's paying for a corner office in Sydney somewhere, or that's paying for someone's wage to marketing, and all the rest of it goes with that, I guess. I'm here to say that money that you give will hit the ground. We partner with an organisation called World Relief Australia. They provide compliance for us. So I need to make this clear as a compliance thing, and also a trust thing as well, that, and full disclosure, if you like to put it that way as well, that I've been in talks with them. They're hastily putting a project proposal together, which is ready to go now. And so people can donate to it, but those who want to donate and want a tax deduction, then that's available to them. Those who don't care for the tax deduction, that's fine as well, but all the money will go through World Relief Australia. In order for us to have compliance with Australian tax laws, then they charge a fee. In this case, it will be 10%. But like we said before, as a business, as Grant Chugg Plumbing, I want to cover that fee. So we can sit here and I can fully disclose that 100% of your donation will hit the ground. Will make a difference. So, and again, I just want to put that out there, because some people do get hung up on how much money do I give actually makes a difference. In this case, 100% of what you give will make a difference. And like I said, you'll be able to see us. You'll be able to see that money will be handed out in the packages that will be delivered, and the joy on these people's faces will be able to be realised through your donation.
And because you're going in June, and you and the group are going to be able to, hand out a lot of these packages. I'm sure a lot of them, they need them right now. Can't wait till June. But for the ones that you get to help, there'll be photos and videos and things like that where you can potentially even share with those that actually donate, so they can see that it did go.
Yeah, absolutely. You can follow us on Facebook, and again, we will have a newsletter that goes out. So again, part of making the donation, then if you enter in your details, your email, then we can send you an email or showing you the difference that your donation has made.
Yeah, amazing. No, that's really generous of you to just cover the fees, because you're right. I think a lot of people do get sort of stuck on that. It's like, oh, I donate to a charity, but it's paying for all the other costs, and how do I know how much actually goes there?
Yeah.
And I think that's another reason why I wanted to have you on, because you've been going there every year for how long now?
2017. So yeah.
It'll be 8 years this year, right?
Yeah, missed 1 year of 2020, of course, but other than that, then every year we've been going back. Like I said, it's something that I feel compelled to do. Maybe I'm selfish in in wanting to go back and to again get that fresh hit of perspective, but again, even just taking some other people that want to join us on the journey, like I joined on a journey in 2017 with Ted, then I'm wanting to give other people that experience, and I know what that experience has done for me and my life. If it does that for other people, then I'm all for it.
Yeah. And generally speaking, Villages of Life, I know you participate every year and set up a fundraising event where a lot of people contribute things that can be basically auctioned off, and all of the proceeds go towards building schools. And I did go to one of those events, and it was really great. That was in October last year. But this is something different. This is actually like you said, it's specific aid that is needed right now. This isn't sort of for the future. It's like literally, this is something that's needed. So I'm going to get this on all of my social media platforms. I'll get it out to my database of customers, of people that have dealt with me. So if you're listening to this and you want to contribute, we'll make it really easy for you. We'll put a link in the show notes. It'll go a long way. You heard what Grant said, 100% of it will reach the people that actually need it. $25 will feed at least a family or a household of 8 for 2 weeks. So imagine, even if you did, $100, that's 816, what's that? 30, 32. It's crazy. You don't because of the inflation, and obviously meaning that their currency is not worth much, it means that our dollar goes a long way. So we have an opportunity here to make a real impact without needing to break the bank or put us in any financial strife. One thing I'll also commit in that if anyone is not my client and listens to this and you come into my company called Lagos Financial, if you have an existing mortgage and you want to refinance it, or whether you're buying anything, 80% of what I earn from that will go straight to this.
Wow.
Yeah. So 20% is just to cover costs, pay for my staff, but 80% of everything I earn from that, I'm going to give away to this cause.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Very, very, very generous offer.
Yeah.
No, that's and that could be ongoing as well. So
Yeah. So if you contact me and my team and you do it, just make sure you mention that you heard this
Yep.
podcast and that's why you're coming to me. And yeah, my wife was saying like let's just do 50%, but like because I've got costs, but like nah, like this is we'll make do. We'll make
Yeah.
it work with the rest. So, 80% is I think a really good amount. And just to give you some numbers, on the upfront commission, my company receives is about $6,000 for every million. So imagine that. What's 80% of 6,000? I don't know, approximately what's that? 5,000.
5,000. Yep.
So $5,000 if you have $1 million loan. If you get a better interest rate, you're still better off. You didn't actually lose anything. You got a better interest rate and you're able to contribute, indirectly to a cause. And $6,000, that will be,
That's
3,000. That's a lot of money that can
Yep.
go towards this cause, right?
Yep.
5,000. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess like I said from the top, the guy wants to do 1,000 packages. If we can do 2,000 or 3,000, more the better. You know, I mean, that's. I think 1,000. We've done this before, and I think we fed about 600 packages before, which was significant. Obviously, the need is even higher now, but to do 1,000, but how good would it be to go to him and say, I know that he wanted 1,000, but here's enough to do 3,000. You know, I mean, 3,000 packages. Then,
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's 1,000 is what we're aiming for, but yeah, we can do a whole lot more than that if the money comes in. So,
Well, I mean, like you said, it's not just the food for 2 weeks; it's also their ability to actually keep getting water for the
Yeah.
family and even for others, and bringing in some money because they do it for others who don't have those water containers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, no, it's really powerful, and I'll definitely do my best to support this. And anyone who's listening who's willing to. This is the only time I've really asked for anything from anyone. But at the end of the day, we're all trying to create financial freedom. I mean, these guys don't even have basic freedom right now.
No, and that's right. And then I guess the bigger picture is education. That's where the real opportunity lies. Again, if people wanting to be involved in a more long-term sustainable giving, then that will be available as well. Again, like I said, the links will be to the website and what have you will be at the end of the show. But yeah, if people get touched and say, I want to make a meaningful difference in education, then that's there either on a one-off basis or an ongoing basis. Then if people want to reach out and know more, then more than happy to share what we do and where we're going. You'll be able to see that on our website as to the projects that we've finished, the ones that are underway and the ones that we're looking to fund. So our mission is to build 20 of these schools in 10 years. So by 2030, we want to build 20 of these schools. We have 5 that are either finished or currently in construction and fully funded. Awesome. So we've got a bit of ways to go, but it's amazing where the journey that we're on and where we've been taken. And it's a privilege to be invited along, a privilege to be part of this journey and to share the journey.
Yeah. I would have gone. My wife and I are expecting our first baby in June, so unfortunately I have to be here and not in Africa. But you've got how many people are coming along with you?
7 of us are going.
7, yeah. Awesome.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I think if people start to see what you're actually doing, and they go to the website, which is villagesoflife.org.
.org. Yep.
The opportunity to actually travel there and be part of that group comes every year.
Every year, yeah.
Plus, you hold the what do you call that night?
It's just a fundraising event. We run a gala ball every second year, and then on every alternate year we run an event, which is just to mix it up for different demographics, I suppose. But
Awesome.
yeah, it's an opportunity for us to share vision, share where we've been, where we're going, and the community of Launceston, our village, if you want to call it that, is very, very generous towards us and supports us very heavily in what we do. But again, this is an opportunity to get that word out there to a global audience, if you will. And again, that's what excites me about the opportunity to speak with you today, Victor, is that, we want to share the message. We want to get more people connected in, and the vision is quite large, but there's plenty of people out there that wanting to participate and just wanting an opportunity to know where can I help. And we're just one of many, I guess, organisations that are doing a lot of good around the world. But yeah, we're very much a small organisation, grassroots, but we are having a significant impact into the areas that we're working.
Yeah, and it's such an interesting pair, like Launceston being, one of the smallest cities in the country in Australia, and then dealing with Burundi in Africa. You wouldn't really, I mean, of course, it started before you joined Villages of Life. Do you know the story how that sort of came about?
Like I indicated, the guy who actually invited me along, Ted Bosveld, he's the one who's the founder of this organisation. So again, we get to stand on his shoulders, and it's not lost on me what a founder does and how they have to start. It's their vision, their calling. It was his calling to go there. He actually went to Rwanda with Hillsong, and at the time when they were building schools there. So he went there for a month. He was not long remarried, so a separation and remarried and blended family. A massive deal to up and leave to go for a month into Rwanda. Whilst in Rwanda, he got a phone call from a guy called Freddie who was in Burundi, and invited him to come to Burundi. And he was basically saying Rwanda gets all the aid, Rwanda gets all the attention. I guess I'm not sure if people are aware, but Rwanda went into genocide 25 years ago. But both Burundi and Rwanda went into genocide at the same time. Both presidents were in the same plane. They were coming into land in Kigali, the capital of Rwanda, and they were shot down. So both presidents were killed at the same time, and both countries went into genocide at the same time. What happened in Rwanda is been publicised, and it was, again, atrocious. They killed 1 million of each other in 100 days, and it was stopped in 5 days when the US and the Western world decided to step in and do something. In 5 days, it was all finished. But in Burundi, it continued. It didn't stop for years. And there was estimated 300,000 people that were killed in that period of time. So very, very significant again. But Rwanda is testament of good financial governance. When you go to Rwanda is one of the safest countries you can visit. And every time I go back there, I know the city reasonably well, but every year I get lost because there's new buildings, there's new banks, there's new tourism. It's just amazing how much growth is happening in that city. They're building a new 70-seat stadium, 70,000-seat stadium. It's just, it just gives you an idea of what's happening in that country and how they're going ahead. And then you step across the border, and both countries were at the same stage, went through the same atrocities, and Burundi is the second poorest country in the world. It just hasn't recovered. It hasn't had the governance. It hasn't had the structures. There are issues with corruption in the country, and but yeah, Rwanda was able to take that aid, I suppose, that international aid, and they were able to do good with that. And then the good that they were doing with it was recognised, so more aid came. Not the case in Burundi. They've stayed in that place of being locked into poverty and debt. Obviously, that's a huge factor that's hanging over them at the moment. and has been for a while. When someone comes into the country and offers opportunity where we'll build you new roads and we'll do this, they do that for a reason. And the roads and the rail and what have you go straight to where the mines are and where the wealth is. So that then the roads go straight out of the country to the wharfs and ports, and those minerals are. I guess this is the whole thing. Africa is a very wealthy country or continent. These countries are very wealthy. Congo is one of the wealthiest mineral-wise in the world, but obviously other countries recognise that as well and want to
Exploit it.
take what they can, and keep them in a place of poverty, and this whole disruption, if you want to call it that, this misplacement and all the things that are rising up and happening in the Congo in the moment is all around governments playing their games and doing what they want in order to take what they need. So, and again, obviously, there's people at stake with all of this. So, but again, it's with good governance, getting their debt reduced. These countries can claw themselves out of the hole that they're in. So, it's certainly, it's certainly disturbing as to what goes on, how it goes on, and but like I said, the potential's massive. I mean, they don't need to stay there; they can actually move out of this place. And Rwanda is a country that has done that in 25 years, from going from absolutely despair to where they are now. It was interesting though when the new president replaced the one who just was killed. The only way that they said they were going to move forward from this is that we have to forgive. We have to forgive each other for what we've done to each other and move forward. If we don't forgive, then we'll stay in this place of bitterness and hurt, and we'll just continue to hurt and kill each other. And it is. And the guy who picked us up from the airport once was telling us a story where his dad would go and play cards with the neighbours 2 doors up every Wednesday night. His dad would go and play cards with them, and then after this, the genocide started, then his father went to play cards with his mates, and they killed him.
Yeah.
And these are his mates. You know what I mean? These are the people, and there was other atrocities that he told us about, which I don't need to share with you. But essentially, when it was all over, the neighbours are still living there, and I've got a president that tells me I've got to forgive. You know what I mean? So it's easy to say, but the reality of trying to work through this and actually do that. But if they don't forgive, then the other choice they have is to stay in this place of bitterness and hurt. And so again, he's got a constant reminder of going home to a household without a dad, and he's got neighbours living next door to him who took his dad away from him. Not easy to forgive.
No.
But when you're faced with a choice of forgiveness or a choice of non-forgiveness, and that obviously leads to a whole lot of other things, and bitterness is one of those things, resentment, it takes your joy away as well. So he's one of those who has stepped into that path of forgiveness, as hard as it is or would be. And I guess I'm sure it's a daily thing almost, where you're still going to see your neighbour. It's not going to take away the memory of losing your father or your dad, but it's certainly you can't afford to stay in that place of unforgiveness either. So it's certainly a harsh reminder as to what each one has to live with, and but they've moved forward. They really have. It's a credit to them. A credit to the government and the governance in that country. They're a shining example as to what can happen. But you step across the border, and then you step into a country that certainly hasn't been able to move forward.
Yeah, I guess we talk about education, and it's like the future leaders of the country that are going to create the systems and governance that's going to bring them forward into current times, right? And out of corruption is going to be those younger generations. So the education is that's why it's even more important, because otherwise, who else are you going to leave to run it? External people coming in, or other families of the corrupt.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, again, it is. That's, again, they will keep people oppressed. You know what I mean? That whole thing with division and race and apartheid, all those sort of things, they need the majority to do the work and the minority to run them. And they will just make up tribes. They're quite peacefully unaware of there was even differences between them until someone points these differences out, and they point them out for a reason so that they can separate them and say, okay, well, you're the uneducated ones. We'll keep you in that position of uneducation. You will do the labour. The minority you're the privileged ones. You're the ones who get to go to the better schools. You have the better transport. You have the better opportunities. The educated people to keep the other people oppressed. That's just how it's been and still is to a large degree in some areas. So again, we're about making things, bring equality, making things equal, especially for women as well. Quite often women are the ones that are even more marginalised, where we're about equal opportunity for both boys and girls and allowing them to both have that opportunity. It's interesting that we used to run a sponsorship program for kids that couldn't afford to go to school, and I sponsor 4 of those kids. Those kids are the poorest of the poor. I mean, they can't afford to go to school, but given the opportunity, they excel. The ones who all had that scholarship, they'll be all sitting in the top 10% of them of the grades in that school, but they weren't given the opportunity, so they never got to excel. Given the opportunity, they'd grab it with both hands and never let it go, and they are now some of the brightest students in the school. So it's really, again, amazing and testament of the potential that sits within a kid, but the potential needs to be unlocked. And in this case, money is what unlocks that, so that they can then attend school. And with that opportunity, they don't let it go. They take the most of it, and now they're on a very different journey in life. Again, from hopeless and having a goat on the end of a rope, that's my lot in life, to now having dreams and saying, I want to be. They can fill in the blanks. When I grow up, I want to be. They've got opportunity to do that where that wasn't given to them before. It was just my life, my day exists of looking after that goat.
Yeah, and you recorded a documentary last year,
Yeah.
and I watched a little snippet of that. You showed that a few weeks ago when you were talking about your travels this year, and something that stuck with me, and I've told other people about this as well, which is like the families, they might have like say 3, 4 kids or whatever, but they can only afford for one of those kids to go to school, that while the others can't go.
Yeah.
And they have to pick the brightest one, I guess, which one they see the most potential. And then that one kid doesn't mean, okay, now he can go to school, it's easy. No, he still has to walk sometimes 8 kilometers one way every day and avoid being attacked by hyenas. It's like, how does that even exist?
Yeah. No, you're right. It's not easy. But like on the other end of that, when that child becomes educated, then the responsibility that sits in that child for the rest of its life to provide for the parents and his or her siblings is massive. So you're not going to school just for an education for yourself. The education is for your family and the future of your family. And so it's a massive weight that each child has to wear. And again, that's why they value it so much. And I think there's so many people who, again, in the Western world have education just given to them, provided for them, and they don't recognise how much or how important that education is. I don't want to go to school, or I don't like it this today, or the teacher's been nasty, or someone's been nasty to me, so I won't go to school. I know those things can be real, but education is just given to us, and we really got to get perspective on what's being given to us and afforded to us. So, and not just waste those opportunities. Those opportunities are again, for us in our Western world, is just something that we can take for granted. And
It's true.
unfortunately,
It's not a privilege for many others.
absolutely. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just what they learn; it's actually the fact that they, um, I guess, participated in it, and therefore they're around the other people who have been educated, and they have connections, and they have, I guess, acceptance of like, okay, you've studied, so you can get into the, inner circle of a. Unfortunately, it is a hierarchical type society still,
Mm. Yeah.
and doors open if you're in those circles. So,
Mm.
so that,
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's I guess these schools that we build bring change, and I guess Village of Life is a Christian organisation, so each one of these children get an opportunity to hear the gospel. Again, it's all equal opportunity, but essentially we want people to grow up with an understanding of what hope looks like and what destiny looks like, and certainly a privileged position that I've been put in, and that's not lost on me either. That even have an opportunity to talk with you today, Victor, and others, it's something that I thoroughly enjoy, sharing a little bit of our journey of where we're being, the difference that we're making, the connection, as you will, from one village to another village, even though probably separated by the biggest distance you can probably get, but essentially how this little village in Launceston has been called to affect some villages in Central Africa at this stage, and looking to go further than potentially Africa. We're open to that, but essentially that's where we are at the moment. That's where we're working, and that's where the opportunities lie, and our connections are very strong. Allows us to make a difference in those little parts of the world. So
yeah. And over these years, you've built systems and, like you said, partnerships where you basically know the ones that are going to succeed and what
yeah,
they need to succeed, and you can, I guess, do your due diligence and partner with the right organizations that aren't
yeah.
just going to take the money and then,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as a board, then that's one of our biggest responsibilities is choosing the right partnerships. Like I mentioned, it all comes with a business plan. They need to tick a lot of boxes in order for this to happen, and it's not easy to run a private school. Again, where do they find the money? Where do they are able to make this work? But it's got to be sustainable. I mean, we can't be propping them up all the time, and that's not our calling. Our calling is just to build the infrastructure, and they will then run their own schools. So
yeah.
some of these countries already have schools that they're running, and we just build them much better quality schools, and again with the buildings, and again with a better learning structure around them, then the kids will excel rather than being in very overcrowded, small, cramped environments where they can have more space and lighter rooms and better teaching aids. All those sort of things all allows that child to develop much better. And parents will recognise that as well. I mean, if they've got a choice of sending their child to one public school or a private school, and that one private school is charging a little bit more because it's providing much newer and better facilities, and the parents will sacrifice even more for that child to have that better education. And it is a sacrifice. Obviously, they've actually sacrificed in a way, saying that one child or two children might be able to go to school, you others, sorry, you're not able to, or we'll send you for 1 year, and then you might miss 2 or 3 years and then go back and do another year, and just and that quite often happens as well, where there's kids of all ages doing grade 2, for instance. I mean, yeah, you might have an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, and a 5-year-old doing the same year, just because they haven't been able to afford the next year's tuition. So
Yeah, wow.
so it is hard. It's not saying it's not, and what they're dealing with is very harsh, but they are doing what they can, and they will sacrifice what they need to in order to get that education that they believe will make the difference, and it will, ultimately will. But it is a bit of a long burn, like as you know, to take a child all the way through to education. It can be 12, 14 years before that, or even longer sometimes, of getting the full education. I guess another thing that we're keen on doing is building trades training schools. Majority of the board is made up of tradies, including myself. So we have got a real leaning towards building trade schools so that kids that like the youth, the 15, 16-year-olds, again, without any education can be causing trouble. So for us to give them a basic training, and that basic training could be 3 months, 6 months of training in building furniture or auto repairs, sewing, making jewellery, all those sort of things. And that's all those sort of skills that they can very quickly turn into
An income.
an income. They can start their own business. They can start making things and selling things. So, and they can start with that in 6 months' time, and then they can come back in a year's time, and then, okay, I've learned how to fix a motorbike engine. Now I want to fix a diesel motor. How can I learn some more and then come back and do some more education so that we can continue to progress them? But we can do that. Obviously, it's not a long burn. That's a very quick way of doing that. So we have a trades training centre that we're currently building in Burundi that we've been wanting to finish there. We have another one in southern Rwanda that we want us to start in that area too. So again, if people are in trades and got trade businesses and potentially want to do something with building a trade school, if that resonates with you as well, then more than happy to have a talk to you about that and how you can potentially partner with us to be a bit more specific if you've got that interest in having your money go to that particular project.
Will they be able to contribute some of their time and skills as well, or is it more just the money that you need to take them off the
Yeah,
bench?
that's a very interesting question, because most people are like in trades that want to go on these trips saying, hey, what are we going to build? What can I do? You know what I mean? And I let them believe that, to be honest. I let them go along thinking that that's what's going to happen. But it doesn't take long, as in an hour or two of being on site. Like I indicated, they haven't gone through the Industrial Revolution yet.
Oh,
So
yeah. Very much tools and
there's
things.
there's no nail guns, there's no power saws. It's
Yeah.
driving a 3 or 4 inch nail, and I'm not sure how many tradies have done that for a while. Even cutting a piece of timber, then you do it with a handsaw, and the timber isn't milled or perfectly straight, all that sort of stuff as well. So it's very much, and again, you'll have a team of like a whole tribe of kids will be just hanging off you because you're a new person, a white person, and you're new to the area. So that it won't be long, and the interaction's not so much with how do I build, it's going to be how do I have a conversation where I can't speak their language to all these children or all these teenagers that are actually interested in me. It's interesting that, like I indicated, I went over there and did that irrigation scheme or when I say irrigation scheme, it was the first irrigation in Burundi. But I got caught up with doing, and there was a lady that was on that trip with us and said that we're actually human beings, not human doings. And we can get quite caught up with the doing side of things, like as in tradies, I want to go over and do stuff, then it's really about being a human being. And in that, then you... quite often we have the mindset we'll go over there and we'll go over there, then we'll show them things and we'll take some things for them, and quite often the thought when you return is that there's a whole level of guilt that you've come back and you've actually taken a whole lot more back with you than what you took over there. And there's a saying that we need Africa a whole lot more than Africa needs us, and that's it's very true. You know, I mean, we think we're going over there to help Africa, but when we return, we realise just how much we need Africa. So, like I've travelled the world a bit. I've been to the Philippines. I've seen what you described at the start. That certainly didn't impact me. Poverty was real. Saw all that. The poverty is real in Africa, but it's just something special about, for me anyway, the connection that I have with where we are working in Africa and the children and the areas that we're impacting. It certainly got hold of my life and has given me the purpose and direction that I was looking for in business, in life, and opportunity to share that. But the tradies can come, more than welcome. Encourage them to bring a nail bag or a pair of boots and whatever, a hammer that you can potentially leave with them. They will cherish that forever. but as a lasting legacy. But I'm sure that again you'll bring home a whole lot more than what you go there to do. But essentially, though, like when a school goes into a village or an area, the impact that has into that area, like the financial benefit that each community gets from that large cash injection into that community is quite substantial. So whilst building the school, then there's many stories of families that have been provided for through the money of them providing their skills. So if we go over there and we take the hammer or saw out of their hand and say, "Oh, let me do that for you. I'll do that. You don't need to do this." Then that was actually a day's work that they were looking for to go and pay for food that they need to feed their family, and you've just taken that inadvertently. You've taken that away from them. So it's for us. It's very important to engage with the communities and get the communities to build the school, and then the communities then own the school. You know what I mean? It's our own. It's like our own security system. You know what I mean? If the community builds the school, then they will protect the school. You know what I mean? Rather than, again, this whole donor thing where we'll build you a school and there you go. Look at what we've done for you. Yeah, they're appreciative of a new school, but it's really not ours. Like you've just plonked it there and given it to us. Where, again, this whole engagement of using in-country organisations, in-country labour, people own it when they build it. So again, we're very careful that we allow them to source all the materials, all the labour locally, and they build their own local school. It's just another level of impact that you have into the community through the money that goes into those communities to build the school. Obviously, that's an impact. The education for tens of years and years afterwards is another impact that will always be there as a legacy for what that school has provided.
And when you go back, you would have seen some of the kids that you dealt with, 8 years ago, or whatever, and you've seen them progress.
Yeah, that's right. Like I said, I sponsor some of those kids, and then those photos are on my wall in my office, and every day I get to see them. And I've left intentionally left the photos of when I first sponsored them as little kids. I get a photo every year, and obviously they've grown up, they're progressing in life and what have you. But it's where they started is probably the memory that I am most fond of, because you know where you've taken them from and where they've journeyed to this current stage. So, but yeah, no, it's certainly again rewarding as to how you can help in different ways, and they're only small amounts, but they're making big differences.
Yeah. Awesome. Look, I just firstly want to just say, thank you for all the good work that you do. I want to acknowledge you for that and the impact you're making to many people's lives. Even anyone who's listening and hearing this, if you can, I'm sure you will touch people's hearts and emotions and hopefully inspire them to do good and contribute to an immediate cause that we have here, or even the long-term great cause with Villages of Life and building those schools. And just for spending the time with me today. I know you're a busy man as well. You're a businessman. You got lots going on. So I just wanted to acknowledge you for that too. And for the listeners that would like to connect with you, can they find you on social media at all?
Yeah, that's right. We're on Facebook, Instagram. Probably the best place is through our website, and all the information is there. Again, if you're wanting to reach out personally, more than happy to have a conversation with you. But there's a lot of information on there, on updates on where we've been and where we're going and where we're at the moment. So
awesome.
Encourage you to do that. And if you feel compelled or wanting to do more, then there's opportunity to do that. There's stories to tell. There's many children's lives that have a different story to tell if people want to engage with them.
Awesome. Yep.
But again, thank you, Victor. Appreciate the opportunity and what you're doing and the difference that you're making, and even your mantra in business and life. That's very cool as to what you're trying to do as well.
Thank you. Yeah, and just thanks for being the inspiration. I want to help good people become wealthy, so that then when they're wealthy, they can do more good. However, you've shown today that you don't need to be wealthy first to do good. You can do good now without needing to be wealthy. So, so that's really good. So anyone who's listened, I'm gonna put all the links in the show notes. You'll see it on the social media post. So click the links, follow it, and please help where you can.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks again, mate.
Cheers.
Cheers.